this is the old house that 8 children and 2 grown-ups lived in. When Daddy returned from World War II, he was subject to the GI Bill of Rights. In other words, he could borrow money at a reduced rate. And so there was an 80-acre farm that came open 3.5 miles northeast of Truman, Arkansas. So he purchased this farm. That was in 1947. And so there we farmed for 10 straight years. We were cotton farmers. And 1957, he called us together and said, boys, if we have one more bad year, I won't be able to pay my debts. And that don't sit well with West Suiter. If he owed a man, you would get your money. So he said, the best I can do is we're going to sell the farm. 1956 was extremely dry. 1957 was extremely wet. And that's how come him to say these words. If I don't sell now, I won't be able to pay my debts. So they sold the farm, and we moved from there to West Memphis. And in West Memphis, we purchased a cafe. It was called the Trolley. It was 2 trolley cars that was put together and made a restaurant out of it. So that is where that we were I say employees. I worked there, and so did Jerry, but Mama did the cooking, and it was one of these places you stayed open 24 hours a day, but it was able to make a living for us for a while. And then one day I was told that I had a letter, and so I go home and get the letter and open it up, and there was that great uncle of mine. He said, boy, I need you. So anyway, I was inducted into the military, and I went for my physical, and then I went to Fort Benning, Georgia, and Fort Carson, Colorado, and Fort another place. Now I can't remember it, but anyway, when I went to Fort in Georgia, the orders came down that they needed, seemed like 1,000 or 1,200 men to go to Korea. And so this great uncle of mine felt like that I'd do well in Korea. But one thing I found out about Korea, it's not a place for a Southern boy. It was the coldest place in the world. Okay.
How long were you in Korea?
I was there a year, 11 months, something like that. 60 to 61, because Melba and I got married, when I returned.
Now, were you engaged when you went
Yeah,
to Korea?
we dated 2 years. We dated 2 years. And that's how I met my wife, Melba. We had this trolley, and in the trolley, they had a jukebox. That was very familiar during that period of time. And if you bring your date there, and then she wanted to hear a certain song, he'd go put a quarter in. He got 3 songs for a dollar. And so a guy named Tommy Jernigan, he would come and I called it rob it, take the quarters out. Now, if the quarter was in there with with fingernail polish on it, it belonged to the waitress, because she would get her money back, So that's how that worked.
Now, I understand Tommy fixed you and Melba up on a blind date.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's how you met her.
That's how I met her. He came over there one time to take care of, I don't know if the pinball machine went out, or taking the money out, whatever it was, but he had this lady with him, and I said, good-looking girl you got, or a good-looking woman, or something to that effect, and I said, if you got another one over there, bring her by. And within, I don't know, I lost time, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month, but he showed up one day and Melba was there, and that's when we started dating, and we were going to get married, but Uncle Sam got his say so. So she waited on me 2 years, and so when I got back from Korea, we were married and lived in West Memphis.
Is there anything good you can say about Korea? I mean, from the perspective of a young man being far from home, I mean, is it?
Well, one of the things that sticks in my memory about Korea, the footprints of war was all over that place. You could see how people were still suffering from that war that went on in Korea. They never did call it a war. They called
Police action, I believe.
That's right. But there's 50,000 men who lost, or 50, I've heard different figures, 50, 52 or somewhere in there that lost their life. But it was a terrible place. It was, you take a guy that's from the South and put him in an environment like that, it's hard for his body to adjust to it. But there was a stroke of luck in that for me. When I processed through Fort Benning, Georgia, you had always have a paper called a 201 file. And the 201 file, it showed that I could type. And there was a sergeant major. He was, the highest that you could get as an enlisted man. And so he called me in the office. He said, we're getting ready to 1,000 or 1,200 men to ship to Germany or somewhere else. Said, would you like to work in the office? It says here that you can type. And I said, well, that's a few years ago. I don't know if I can handle it or not. So he said, hold on a while. He went to the phone, and I heard that he was listening to him. He came back. He said, they have a refresher course at the main office. Said that the refresher course, I think it went a week or 10 days. He said, I'll have a taxi to pick you up and take you over there for the refresher course and bring you back here. And he said, and then you'll be working for me. And I said, if it's something to the effect, I'd be glad to. But able to type, when I got to Korea, I had an inside job, I didn't have to walk duty or anything except maybe once or twice. So
after your stint in Korea, did you fly home or boat home? Or
oh, yeah.
How'd you get home?
Yeah, that was the longest poker game that I was ever in. When they got ready to ship me back to San Francisco, I think there was, I don't know, maybe 1,500 men or something like that going back to the States. And so there were several on there like to play penny poker. So I had 19 days on the water playing. That's the longest poker game that I was ever in.
I hope you did well.
I won $700 from the time we left, enough to pay for Melba's ring and buy an old 1956 Buick Special.
That's a lot of money in 1960, 61.
Yeah, and so that's how that went. And so,
if you like this video and would like one similar to it, or if you have your own idea about a video you'd like, contact Video Story Saver today. The information is here at the bottom of your screen.